There are some stories you think you know inside and out. Today, we're diving into one of the most famous of all, the woman caught in adultery. But what if there's a mystery right at its heart, a code, kind of hidden in plain sight, that could change everything you think you know about this powerful encounter?
I mean, we've all heard this line, right? It's become part of our culture, a call for mercy over judgment. And you can just feel the tension in the scene. The Pharisees drag this woman to Jesus, demanding she be stoned, just like the law of Moses says. And Jesus hits them with this simple but totally devastating challenge.
And this is where it gets really interesting. It's a paradox, right? Because according to Christian theology, Jesus is the only one in that whole crowd who actually fits the bill. He is without sin. So, by his own rules, shouldn't he have been the one to pick up a rock? Why didn't he?
So to crack this puzzle, we have to go on a little detour into the history of a single word. And you won't believe this, but a huge clue comes from a 17th century king. A king who, long before he commissioned a famous Bible translation, had a serious, almost academic interest in witchcraft. Yeah, you heard that right. And that strange connection is what helps unlock this whole thing.
Okay, so this is King James I of England. And get this, years before he ever put his name on a Bible, he wrote a whole book called Daemonologie, basically his study of witchcraft. This means he was an expert in the language of the occult. He knew the lingo inside and out. And that vocabulary, weirdly enough, is going to shed a whole new light on what's happening in John 8.
All right, it all comes down to this one crucial word, cast. Now, back in King James's time, this word had a powerful double meaning. Sure, it could mean to throw something, like a stone. But it also had this other more mystical meaning, to inscribe symbols, to write incantations, basically to cast a spell.
So let's just lay it out, side by side. You've got the common meaning, to throw an object. Simple enough. But then you have this archaic, almost magical meaning, to inscribe symbols or write spells. For most people, casting a stone was just throwing it. But for someone who knew the world of the arcane, someone exactly like King James, casting was also an act of writing. To cast was to write. And believe me, this linguistic clue is everything.
Okay, so now that we have this double meaning of the word cast in our back pocket, let's go back to that scene in the dust. What was Jesus actually doing when he knelt down and started writing on the ground?
Just watch how this unfolds, step by step. First, you have the demand. The Pharisees want a stoning, according to the law. Then, you get the condition from Jesus. Only the person without sin gets to cast the first stone. And then, the action. Jesus, the only sinless one there, bends down and starts to write. He starts to cast.
And there it is. That's the first big piece of the puzzle. Jesus was casting the first stone. He was totally fulfilling his own condition. As the sinless one, he was the one to start it, but not with a rock. He was casting with his finger. He was casting by writing.
But hold on, solving that first mystery just cracks open an even bigger question. Why do it like that? What's the point of this symbolic act of writing in the dirt? This wasn't just some clever wordplay. Oh no, there is something way more profound going on here. To really get it, we have to go way, way back to the very beginning of the law that the Pharisees were trying to weaponize. The real clue isn't just in John 8, it's an echo from thousands of years before, from Mount Sinai.
You see, the ultimate key to understanding this moment isn't just about the words Jesus said.
It's about what God did when the law was first given. The action Jesus performs is a direct, intentional mirror of how the Ten Commandments were originally created at Sinai.
Okay, look at this. The parallel here is absolutely stunning. At Sinai, who's the author of the law? God. What's the instrument? The finger of God. And what's the action? Inscribing, or you could say casting, that law onto stone tablets. Now, fast forward to John 8. Who's the author? It's Jesus, God in the flesh. The instrument? His finger. And the action? Writing or casting into the dust of the earth. It's the exact same act by the exact same author, just separated by centuries. So, what does this all mean when you put it together? The language, the history, the theology. It's all pointing to something way bigger than just one story. It suggests there's a code, literally written across time itself.
Think about it. This one single action was a perfect fulfillment on every single level. Legally, the sinless one does in fact begin the stoning. Symbolically, he's echoing the very giving of the law at Sinai. Morally,
He saves the guilty person while exposing the hypocrisy of her accusers. And linguistically, he wraps the whole meaning up in a single word, cast, a word whose dual nature wouldn't even be fully understood for more than 1,000 years in a totally different language. It's just incredible.
I mean, just think about that for a second. To build a scene where the main action relies on a word's double meaning, a meaning that will only really pop in a language that doesn't even exist yet, across all that time and culture, the whole point here is that no human author could possibly pull that off. So this isn't presented as some random coincidence. The incredible layering of law, symbol, and language is meant to be a fingerprint, pointing to a single, timeless author who operates outside of our timeline. This is what's being presented as the evidence for divine authorship. So in the end, the first stone was cast, not as a weapon of judgment, but as an act of divine revelation, an echo of the creation of the law itself. And it leaves us with this one huge, lingering question. If we miss something this deep in one of the most famous stories in the Bible, what else, hidden right there in plain sight, have we failed to see?